This is like a my concept of when we talk about motion control. What are the various things in today's industrial motion? What can be linked or covered by motion control? Again, this is not an exhaustive list. We can keep on adding to this. This is just like a illustrative. So start first with this top yellow, programmability. So obviously the programmability has become like a elementary necessary feature of any motion. Positioning accuracy depending on the kind of application. Precision, speed and control and range. Precision speed control means how accurately you can control the speed. What is the necessity of that? What is the range? What is the smallest speed? What is the biggest speed which is required for your motion? Then control over force and torque. This I'll be explaining in depth. So right now you can just see the name. Synchronized motion of multiple axes. I think all of you will be already aware, being somewhat knowledgeable in the automation field. Multiple axis motions are to be synchronized mechanically and electronically. Short duration overhandling capacity. This is obvious. No uncontrolled motion. This is safety requirement, and nothing should happen on its own. Now again, you go back to the top, that programmability. Now you see on the reverse anti-clockwise side, the force or torque capacity. This is an important thing for any motion. That the very purpose of motion is either to transmit a linear force, or to transfer or transmit a rotary torque. So what is the capacity of the system? What my requirement, my system, how much it requires my motion, what is the requirement is important there. Then butting against stopper. Again, this is very similar to control over force and torque. This for timing, just read the name. Then programmable acceleration, deceleration. This is very obvious, but the need for this I will be explaining why it should be programmable. Servo lock. Possibly you might have heard the name. You might be possibly using also in some application. But this is a very interesting feature of the servo technology, which is not easily available in any other technology today. Not impossible, but it requires some circus. Whereas in a servo technology, it is just like that, easily available or like a default feature. Inching or frequent start-stop, it is obvious. Then these are little different points. They are not exactly technical. Efficiency. Any drive system, if you take, we are inputting some power from one side, and finally you are using the power from the other side. So what is the ratio between the output power being utilized versus input power being fed? So nothing can be 100%. But to what is the best efficiency for a given type of drive, it has to be looked into, because that will have effect on the running cost. Then any effect of external conditions. This wherever you are planning to have your machine or your application installed, the environmental conditions there, the temperatures, the relative humidity, any vibrations or any gases, what is the altitude of your usage, all these things might make a difference on the equipment selection. This has to be seen. And finally, it is the costing. The initial cost, one-time purchase cost, installation cost, and running cost, because machine has to run for years together. So this also has to be looked into. So these are like a glimpse of various points or parameters one has to look into when he talks of a good quality motion control and effective motion control. This is a schematic diagram of any mechanical power transmission. The left hand side, you can see the prime mover name for the source of the mechanical power. Then on the right hand side, you can see the load. The load can be of various types. It can be pump, it can be machine to spindle, it can be a conveyor movement, anything, whatever you can visualize or imagine is the load. And between the prime mover and the load, there will be some transmission equipment. Again, it will have so many varieties. The simplest can be a screw and a nut, or it can be a gearbox, it can be timer pulleys and timer belts, it can be chain sprockets, it can be worm and burr mill. So many things will be there. Sometimes combinations of this plus this, all these things will be possible. So this entire thing becomes like a power transmission at a glance. Now, what I'm trying to tell here for this slide called as the torque speed characteristics is, each of this is going to have its own torque speed characteristics. Now, let us see what is the meaning of torque speed characteristics. So for prime movers, that means the mechanical motion starts, mechanical motion actually generates. It is the behavior of torque produced at different speeds. Now, most of the time, prime mover will be some kind of electrical motor, or once in a while it can be even hydraulic motor, once in a while pneumatic motor, but some kind of a motor. So, at what speed that motor can produce how much torque? This becomes a torque speed characteristics graph. Now that graph will be available from the manufacturer side. Suppose you are buying an induction motor, the induction motor manufacturer, he will have that graph. Maybe it is available to you easily on the product catalog. Suppose it's not available, you can ask him and he has to give it to you. Whatever the motor. So this is the meaning of the torque speed characteristics for the prime mover. It is also there for the loads and intermediate elements. For loads, what it means is, once you are rotating at a particular speed, how much torque it is going to require. For running at that speed, it requires some torque because this is a load. And the same thing will be there for the intermediate device also. So whatever the torque required for a given speed, for its own operation, is called the torque speed characteristics of the load side. So I hope the basic meaning is clear. Now the purpose of this torque speed characteristic is, it is highly essential when it comes to the selection of the motor, particularly servo motors, or any kind of motor for that matter. But more important for today, this kind of servo motor. If when you want to do a proper servo motor sizing, you must start with what the load wants. Means how the load is going to demand the torque from the motor side. The selection of the motor, you must start from the load side. What is the requirement of the torque at different speeds? Then come back to the motor side. And when you select the motor, you must know what motor I am selecting, what is its own torque speed characteristic. By looking at both torque speed characteristics of the motor as well as prime mover, as well as the load, then you will select a proper motor. Otherwise, there is a chance that since you have not seen this properly, your motor selection may not be proper and you will end up in some problem on the machine application. So this particular session is for giving the fundamental core level understanding of essentially what is there in the servo technology, how it works at the core level, at the electronics level, how it works. You need not be electronics engineer. It's simple. I'll make it as simple to understand even for mechanical engineers out here. So essentially it consists of 3-4 things: concept of closed loop control, servo motor concept and parts, feedback elements, and command signal concept. So let us start. This session is mainly for first one, that is closed loop control. Hope you can see properly on the screen. Essentially, the word servo at the top you can see put in the bracket closed loop. So servo, as I understand, it is an Italian name, and the English language meaning is closed loop. So any closed loop function is listed as servo control. So essentially, in any servo control, right now this slide what I'm showing is not necessarily for servo motor. Any servo application is covered by this, any in general. So now you can see there is a yellow line. Outside the yellow line, from left side, you can see there is something called as command signal, which is coming from outside. Similarly, at the right end, you can see something going out, that is output signal, and that is actually controlling some actual process. And there is actual process, how it is actually working, is taken through some kind of feedback signal and brought inside. So these 3 things are outside. Command signal is outside, actual process outside, feedback signal is outside. Now you see inside the this dotted line, yellow color dotted line, this is called a servo controller or closed loop controller. So it will have essentially 3 electronics, hardware and software controlled units inside. Again, you need not know anything about electronics. This is simple to understand. There is something, first is called as error signal generator. What this generates is, it compares the command signal with respect to that instant what is the feedback signal. It is reading both, and it generates the difference between the two. The error signal is given to a particular piece of electronics, which is an intelligent unit with good hardware, and so this is called a signal processing of the error signal. The signal is processed here and some output is generated. That output generated is algebraically added or deleted with respect to the original command signal, and then new output signal is generated. So that will drive the process. So this is how the closed loop system works. So this is a brief outline of what are three parts I mentioned here. So let us start first with the motor, servo motor. So it is a three-phase motor, but it is not three-phase induction motor. It is called as three-phase synchronous motor. The difference between induction motor and synchronous motor is on the inside the induction motor there are no physical magnetic poles. There is a rotating magnetic field generated because of the stator winding, but on the rotor it is a plain steel and copper. There are no actual magnets. Whereas in a synchronous motor, on the rotor there are physical electromagnets. So that is the essential difference. So essentially a servo motor is a three-phase synchronous motor. The rotation speed is linearly proportional to the frequency of supply. The supply is a three-phase, whatever frequency you are giving, the motor will rotate at that speed. The motor is designed as fanless speed, fanless motor. There is no fan here like a three-phase induction motor. It has got a very big implication of being a fanless motor. It means that for its self-cooling, fan is not required. It also means that the motor is designed, the entire design of the motor, the material being used of the motor in such a manner that whatever the cooling, whatever the natural cooling happens by conduction and radiation is sufficient to keep the winding temperature under limit. It doesn't require anything outside. It also has got a like a extension, meaning the motor can run at extremely small speed. A induction motor, one big problem is even if you are using a VFD and you can reduce the speed, but for induction motor the fan cooling is a must. External fan cooling will be there. So when the motor speed reduces, fan speed also reduces. The air drastically reduces. The motor will start becoming hot. So the VFD is strong, but the motor is not strong. But in a servo motor, as it is, there is no fan. That is, the motor is already designed that without fan it will work. That means the motor speed can have practically no limitation on the lower side. So a few minutes back, I gave an example that one of the applications, whatever we had done, the motor is run at as low as 0.03 RPM. That means something like it takes about 33 minutes for one revolution. Even in 33 for one revolution, this is possible only with servo motor technology. No other motor in the world today can give this kind of rotation. So this for the motor. Okay, these are some of the exploded views. This is not important. You can easily see on internet. You can see all these things. Brake is a essential concept with the servo motor. Motors are available either without brake or with brake. If you are ordering a motor with brake, the motor on the non-driving end shaft side, it will come with a compression spring brake already built into that. So the meaning of that is it is spring-loaded brake. That means when there is no electrical signal available, there is no electrical power available, the stiff spring inside that braking mechanism will lock the stator and the rotor. That means the shaft cannot rotate at all. So it will work as an instant brake if you want to stop motor suddenly for any reason, or when there is no power, then automatically movement should not be there. So this will be taken care because of this brake. Now to de-energize that brake, because motor has become free, there is a built-in electromagnetic core is there. So we have to give normally 24 volt DC supply from outside, just like contactor coil. If you give a supply from outside against the spring, the discs get disconnected from each other and then they are free from each other. That means the stator and rotor become isolated from each other mechanically, and then the rotor is free to rotate. So that is the meaning of a brake motor. If you are selecting a brake motor, the brake torque value is of a significant importance is there, because if you are using a brake motor, probably it will be for a vertical slide, it should not come down automatically. Then the brake rating should be sufficiently strong enough to prevent that automatic coming down. So it will not going to happen if you are using a motor with inadequate brake rating. So this has to be understood and accordingly studied, and then only alter the motor or select the motor. Servo motor is a synchronous motor. The speed will depend on the frequency. So you must generate an output of variable frequency as per the motor speed requirement. So output has to be sine wave, output has to be three phase, and output has to be variable frequency. So for doing this, all this AC to DC, DC to AC is the technology today. And the power side is called as IGBT electronics. Okay. And the control side is a brain. Control side is not concerned what is the power. Control side is the feature. What facilities, what features, what accuracy, what closed loop action. Everything is in the control electronics, which is more on the software. Okay, this is typical photographs of some amplifiers. Now, typically, when you're buying a servo motor, you decide the servo motor as per your whatever the power requirement. Amplifier will normally be automatically get decided for a given motor. The amplifier will be chosen by the manufacturer. He will tell use this amplifier. That is how it comes as a set. But amplifier, you will have some freedom depending on the functional features capability. They may have 2-3 models. Then you can select the according model you can select. But otherwise, it is as a set. Encoder comes as a built-in thing on the motor.
Sir, the question I had, AC DC to AC, unlike AC motors, there is a DC conversion in between for the variable frequency. Is that the correct answer, or there is something that I'm missing?
No, it is like that only.
Okay. So just for the variable frequency, we convert AC to DC and then AC again.
Not only variable frequency. See, it has to have variable value also, because you cannot have only a very small frequency at high voltage. So the voltage has to be proportional to the frequency. So amplitude as well as the waveform and the frequency, all three need proper control. So that is available. That is done by IGBT control. So
okay. That is the reason we need IGBT. Okay.
Yeah. Yes. Okay, now I'll give a little idea about the encoders. Essentially, there are two types of encoders. For those of you who are maybe not knowing what encoder, this may be useful. This now what you are seeing here is an example of something called as incremental encoder. There are two types. One is incremental, other is absolute. What I'm showing here is an incremental. In an incremental, you will get electronic pulses. See, I listed here 4 different types of drives. Mechanical with induction motor and VFD, mechanical with stepper motor, pneumatic, normal oil hydraulic, proportional or servo oil hydraulic, servo electrical. So there are 6 different types of drives. Now on the left side, first column, if you see, I have mentioned is a performance point. Means what are you trying to see for comparing with each other? There will be so many points. So if you see first point here is the positioning accuracy and repeatability. Suppose that you take as a criteria for comparing drives, then these are my remarks. Now let me tell you one thing. Whatever I will be showing some more screens in the same slide, different parameters. This is totally my own creation based on years of experience and handling maybe hundreds of applications whatever I handled. So this is the outcome of that. This you will not get in any textbook. This you will not get on internet. But this is like my experience I'm sharing here. So this is, if you take this as a first example only I'm telling, positioning accuracy or repeatability with VFD and induction motor is very poor. With mechanical, with stepper motor, you can get crude. Pneumatic, again very poor, almost nil. Normal oil hydraulic, crude, and that too in conjunction with external hardware. Proportional servo hydraulics, you will get fairly good. But that is in connection with the external hardware, like you will require external linear scale, you will require intelligent PLC, so many things you will require. Servo electric drive is extremely good, means this is unbeatable. Whatever you can get out of servo electric motor, at least for this point, nothing else compares with this. Servo hydraulic may come somewhat near to this. Then you see speed control setting and running from highest to lowest, and the quality of running smooth, stepless variation and jerkless motion. Like that, if you put all these things under this, then you can compare this. This is medium, stepper with medium, doubtful at high speed. You suppose the selection is not proper, you will not rotate at all. Pneumatic is speed is very fast, but there is nothing like accuracy, and it may not run smoothly at all the same. All the speeds will not be same for morning to evening. Speeds will keep on changing. Hydraulic is fairly good. Servo is very good, and this servo electrical is absolutely best. Like that, what I'm trying to show here is on the left side column, whatever previous chart I showed, like a display, no, what I showed here, these are like motion criterions, and you can add some more to this. Whatever your application based knowledge you will have, you can add some more criterion here. So that you take one criteria, one parameter, and then compare here. Now this comparison, as I told you, you will not get anywhere as a ready-made thing. It will require your own experience, discussions with your colleagues, your team, your seniors, and also inside the shop floor, how keenly you watch at your customer's place, whatever complaint you see or you actually handle. All this is a source of knowledge, and then slowly you will start yourself coming to your own conclusion, which will be more or less whatever chart I am showing to you. So this is how it has to be done. So these are some more things. Flexibility for, say, this EGR setting, servo lock feature. It is not, but the servo hydraulic technology is good. You can make that. Servo electrical, it is like a built-in. In servo hydraulic technology, you have to do the proper wall selection to get this. But in servo electrical, it's like a built-in. You don't have to struggle, it is already there. So like that, you keep adding here point by point. Many points are already added here. Now I will show here vulnerability to external conditions. Servo electrical drive is fairly good, and most of these are good here. It's not much difference, but this normal hydraulic is medium, and poor is pneumatic because it will be sensitive to so many things. Now there is one thing which is servo electrical is not able to meet as of today. The best is oil hydraulics. That is for power to weight ratio. Now power to weight ratio, if it is a new terminology to you, let me give a little example of what is power to weight ratio. I hope all of you would have seen a hydraulic power pack in some or other application. Now you have one more observation. Suppose it is a 5 horsepower motor. Obviously, the pump also would have 5 horsepower rating, otherwise the selection is not proper. But now see the 5 horsepower motor and the pump connected to that, which is supposed to be at least 4 or 5 horsepower. See the size. The pump size will be hardly 25% or less than 25% of the motor size. If you weigh the motor, suppose the motor is going to weigh say 25 kg of 5 HP motor, the equivalent 5 HP hydraulic pump will be hardly high. But the power rating of those both are same. What it means is for the same amount of power to be transmitted, generated or to be transmitted as a power medium, in one case the weight is higher, other is lesser. This essentially goes back to what is the density of power you transmit. For example, if it is an electric motor, then the current density out of a conductor becomes a limitation. In a hydraulic system, the limitation is what is the pressure rating your power system, hydraulic power system can withstand. So today the hydraulic power systems, pump, pipings, valves, they are much higher rated than the equivalent current rating of the electrical system. That is the reason why the ability to carry more power with the same weight is simply unbeatable in hydraulics. Servo hydraulics are new, normal hydraulics. It is extremely good. The servo electrical drive for that is medium. And there is one more thing, the one earlier one, ability to work in rough surrounding. That means external thing, that in the sunlight or in the rain area or gases area like that. Now then servo is not at all the technology to be used. It will simply fail because of the simple reason that it contains, the motor may be strong, but the oil seals might fail, or the weakest element is the encoder. It is an extremely delicate element and it will simply fail in the site. if it is an external application. So because of that, you will not find servo driven electrical applications on outdoor applications. So this is why I'm telling this is when you are thinking of servo technology, you should be also knowing into the limitations where it cannot be used. So I hope this chart will be useful to you. Then initial one-time cost as of today, the costliest is servo technology only. Hopefully in the time to come, as our volume of tech increases, the prices should come down. But as of today, it is highest. The running cost is significantly costly for oil hydraulics, because particularly for repeated servo hydraulics, the performance is good, but the filtration level has to be very high. It requires frequent changing of the filters, changing of the oil, cleaning of the oil. All these things come into picture for oil hydraulics, whereas no such thing is there for electrical motor. If you just install it properly, maybe once in a while outside, if you clean it and just check a visual checking, that is sufficient. So running cost and the efficiency level of electrical motor, particularly servo motor, is best among all the options. Servo is number one for efficiency of running. So it automatically reflects into the running cost being quite good.